Hello there. My name's Mark, and you are listening or watching to the Holocron Chronicles. This is episode 50.
Oh my gosh!
50. We have an exciting show. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty non-Wookiee co-pilot, Charlie Carden. Charlie, how you doing tonight?
Oh, 50, my back. No, I'm doing good. Yes, no, this is exciting. We've been, 50 for us. You guys over on Co-op just hit 100. We hit 400 on our main show. And my little program, Code 47, the Star Trek podcast, 86. I know, it's not a very harmonious number. We're working on
just
it.
Like that one. We didn't time this or plan this, obviously, when we started shows to hit like 400, 150.
Right.
It just worked that it's all in the same week. And then you guys over at Code are just,
Right. Like I said, if we put them all together, that could be our network. Every time we put out a network show, it could be 405, 550, 6.
When the 6 is
36.
Yep. There you go.
Wow, that was some
math.
Math.
Strong math skills. We are also joined tonight by Jared. You may know him as GreekHeat on Twitter, Twitch, everything else. Jared, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I know we've had this in our chat logs for a little while now, so I'm glad that we were able to find the time to make it happen, and I'm super honored that it just happened to work out that I'm here for the 50th, and I think that's super awesome, and y'all should definitely give yourselves a pat on the back for that, because the work that goes into this kind of stuff is not easy. So
True.
Thank you so much. I'm super happy that we could make this work, and I'm very happy that you could be here for our 50th. So that's great. Before we get into it, I do have to thank Manscaped for sponsoring the Holocron Chronicles and the Secret Friends Unite Network. You can use code SFU for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com and manscaped.ca. I checked it out. It does work for Canadian shoppers as well. A friend of mine just messaged and got it. So there we go. We will talk a little bit more about Manscaped later on, but right now we are going to learn a little bit more about the mystery man named Jared. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a self-described Twitter nuisance. I just happen to exist.
Huguenot.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I, love Star Wars. I found the Star Wars community mostly through Twitter. And that's where I've, engaged with a lot of great folks like your channel, like Pink Milk, and otherwise. And it's been one of the best things that has happened to me in the last year or so. Awesome. So I found a good niche. I wrestled the algorithm, and overall it works for me. Outside of digital spaces, whether it's Twitch as well, because I do some streaming on the side. I'm a small business owner. I own a comic book and tabletop game store here in the Atlanta area in Georgia.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's often why my bags under my eyes are heavily pronounced and very exposed, because I work 7 days a week.
Oh my God. Speaking of things related to Atlanta, Georgia, my wife and I, huge Walking Dead fans, just rewatching the series for the first time since we've been together for 10 years, but we discovered the show kind of together at that time, but have never rewatched more than maybe the first season again. So now we're in season 10, and then season 11, which is the finale, is going to be over in 3 weeks. So by the time we get there, we'll have done it all, like lead right up to the end of it. So, but anyway, awesome. I know that's entirely filmed in the greater Atlanta area, Sonoya.
Yeah,
and all that.
It is. Yeah. Sonoya is actually probably 10-15 minutes from where I live. So I'm south of the perimeter in that area. And I'm also about 10-15 minutes from Trilith, nay Pinewood. So all of the Marvel movies are also here as well.
Very
just
exciting.
Saw the announcement today that Wonder Man will be filming in Atlanta. So that will be coming as well.
One of my favorite one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite cosplays is Wonder Man. So excellent. The gray hair, Wonder Man, original recipe Wonder Man in the 70s was gray because he had been dead and came back as he had gray hair. So it worked.
You can hear more about that on Secret Friends Unite episode 400 when it drops
on Friday. You got it
on Friday. Yes, exactly. So I want to get, actually, you know what? Usually we try to make this pretty like platform agnostic. audio listeners, video watchers, you can get the same. That Thor behind you is fantastic. Holy crap. Like
I
if you're
know.
an audio listener, just this is the one to go subscribe to our YouTube channel.
It's
That
the
is just
time.
epic.
And
Do
YouTube
it.
subscriptions are free.
It is rather distracting and I love it. Okay, so let's
That's
before
one
I
of the
get too
perks of
distracted.
owning a comic book store. I get to order things for myself.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
I love it.
You did mention Pink Milk too when you were
Mhm.
talking about Star Wars Twitter, and you were just on that show, right?
Yeah. So probably about oh gosh, it wasn't last week, but I believe because they just moved to Wednesdays.
Yes.
So not last week, but the week before. So 2 weeks ago, and the week before that, I was on and joined them over there, and we had a great discussion about I think it was episodes 6 and 7 of Andor. So we had a good time talking about the Eye, and then everything that preceded after that as well. And the one thing I really enjoy about Pink Milk is how they're carving a space for LGBTQIA plus folks like myself within Star Wars. So we are able to talk about those things open and honestly with folks that have the same backgrounds, ideals, thoughts, etc., and how it relates to either our everyday lives or otherwise in kind of a fact through fiction kind of through lane.
Mm-hmm. I love that show, and
Yeah.
it is a fantastic uh, representation of I think people that may not always have their voice heard in Star Wars or media in general. It's you get a token kiss here and there of
Mm-hmm.
representation kind of thing, and
Mhm.
it's really nice to hear a show that celebrates that and pushes for more and kind of wraps it all up in a whole lot of fun. So
Yeah.
if you haven't, we've had I think everyone from that show as a guest on here,
They're
and I can't say
wonderful.
enough great stuff
Each and
about
every one of them are wonderful. And
it there.
one of the fun things I learned about the last time I was there, I believe it was episode 7, during Mon Mothma's party scene, Brian actually had to sign an NDA that when Mon Mothma said drink up to Tay Kolma, that was actually something that they had put in for Pink Milk.
Really?
What?
Oh my goodness. That's
That's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
So that's a
Wild.
fun little Easter egg that only a select group of people now know.
My,
Wow.
my.
Wow. That's
Wow.
amazing. Congratulations. They've had so much success. So we're going to mention them as guests later, but congratulations on those guys. They're
Yeah.
fantastic.
Sweet.
Okay. This isn't the Pink Milk Show. This is the
Yes.
Jared Show. So let's learn a little bit about you right now. How did you get into Star Wars?
I think, like, most people my age, mid to early 30s, we were introduced to the OT trilogy really early on, either from a parent or otherwise. I remember it was before the box set had even come out, like the first VHS box set.
Oh man.
And A New Hope was on broadcast. And I remember sitting up in my parents' bedroom on a little like 19-inch RCA with like the metal buttons and stuff. And I'm just sitting there in my parents' bed by myself, like they were either downstairs, the living room or whatever, just watching it and becoming so enthralled, and just it took off from there. After that spawned reading and getting my hands on anything and everything Star Wars. I loved the Young Jedi Knight series as a kid. Kevin J. Anderson's Lightsabers is one of my favorite books of all time. And I actually just recently saw him at Dragon Con over the Labor Day weekend and got him to sign it. So that was a really, really
Awesome.
special treat.
Awesome. That is
yeah.
so cool. My I always say my elemental nature lightsaber, which you can kind of see behind me a little tiny bit, has a Rancor tooth for Tenel Ka. That was just one of my favorites.
Oh, she's so cool. That would be my one like wish list item. Would it be have some of those characters in some sort of adaptation or way come about?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. What is your favorite Star Wars movie or show? Or I think last time I said I have to expand this. So like thing.
Mhm.
Is it those books, or is it like what is Star Wars to you?
I mean, I know for a fact from watching previous episodes that everyone pretty much says the same thing. Like Star Wars is Star Wars is Star Wars, and there will be different things that capture my love, my joy, and my interest at different times in my life for different reasons. Like episode 3 is my entertainment value. It gives me all the little nuggets and goodies that I love, and it's just good entertainment. I love Last Jedi. It's one of my absolute favorites because I like the story that it told as it related to me as an adult, not as a child.
True.
But as of late, and it's everywhere on my Twitter, of course, High Republic has been one of the best things for me that Star Wars has come out with in recent years. And that's not just as an avid reader and somebody who read the books growing up. And did I read all of the expanded universe? No. That was a lot to try and manage.
Especially if 75% of it is
not canon.
Not great. I mean, my God, I grew up reading, and I've said it before, I grew up reading Marvel's original. Star Wars, it was my entryway to comics. Got my first issue 65.
Oh, yeah.
I have a copy of it framed in upstairs in my house at the pharmacy in my hometown of Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And it's the book was never great. But for us back in the early 80s, and waiting 3 years between movies, it was all that we had. So it meant a lot. And plus it was a saga about kids and a comic that was written for kids, so a kid gobbled it up.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like, I've been enjoying about High Republic. It's tabula rasa. It gives you all the familiar trappings. So even for those that are like, oh, I want to move past the Skywalker saga, go into the future. High Republic is right there. And whether you go into the past or you go into the future, everything's still joined in that middle part. So it's either going to precede it and influence it or be influenced by it. So it's right here ready for the taking.
Yep. And it's so disconnected. I mean, aside from Yoda, like, this is a whole new thing.
Yeah, and it's got to be. Yeah, got to be.
For the first time for a while, I added the Blade. So that's like kind of the next arc.
Yeah.
So I added that to like my pull list from the local comic shop. Because I started reading the High Republic when it first came out and tried to kind of keep up with stuff, and found it a little bit difficult to keep up, and then just kind of dropped it altogether. And now I'm like, that's my jumping back in point is going to be the Blade. And that drops in. Did that just come out? Did I miss that? Oh, no. December?
It should be December. Right. Unless Canada has different release dates, it should be December.
No, December.
I think it's the 28th.
All right.
Gotcha. Good. Yeah, I Mark, and again, we'll talk about it when we get into our recapping history, but you and I followed that High Republic when it first came out because it was really coincidental with when we started the show. And we ended up kind of falling off being like, well, we're continuity mongers. We're going to get everything. But now, should I wish to go back, I have Marvel Unlimited. I can go back and read it, but my reading is just so bad. I'm trying to really just catch up on the Amazing Spider-Man, and I'm still a year behind because I'm trying to keep up my streak. I've read every issue from the beginning. That's my claim to fame, and I'm trying to keep that up. So, but it's hard to make the time to read so much other stuff going on, and I travel extensively for work. It's challenging sometimes. When I read comics is when I'm eating alone when I'm on the road. Be sitting at a diner somewhere and I'm flipping through on my work iPad too, reading Amazing Spider-Man and having my salad.
Yeah, it's a slog to try and keep up with that kind of stuff. I know a lot of times folks will be like, oh, what are you reading? And I'm like, look, I know I own the comic book store. That does not mean, number one, that I am A, the harbinger of good taste, or B, that I have the time to stop what I'm doing to make sure that this runs so that you can have comics to sit down and read comics. Exactly. So I've just been keeping up with Star Wars and X-Men. I've been enjoying the Krakoa era a lot.
Gotcha. Nice. Cool.
Very nice. What is your favorite Star Wars character?
I think, I mean, again, I have a lot of different ones, but I think if I had to pick among picks, it's going to be Obi-Wan, but I can fix him Kenobi. I love a man.
But I can fix him like somebody's girlfriend. He's a fixer-upper, but he's a good one.
I I have such a soft spot for characters that are just destined for infinite sadness.
Oh, like
And
me.
I absolutely love that.
yeah, so I think, he's really a compelling character outside of just the, wizened master, and we got a lot of that through Kenobi and otherwise. But I could, list off and rattle off a dozen different characters that I have fallen in love with, but I think I always come back to Kenobi.
All right. Andrew, two more characters that were on that list that didn't make the cut.
I've really grown to love Stellan Gios from the High Republic. Selfishly and biasedly, because somebody stole my look and I need to cosplay him desperately.
Take it
That
back.
works.
And I think I love Cal Kestis. I think
Ooh, that's Mark's jam.
We've just started his journey and getting familiar with him, but he's such a rich character, and having someone attached like Cameron Monaghan to that project, I think is really exciting. And of course, all of this will become irrelevant whenever the next project comes out. So when the Acolyte drops, I'm going to have new favorite characters.
Right.
To
It's the jingling keys. Watch out.
Mm-hmm.
Someone asked me on Twitter today what my favorite like top 5 Jedi were. I was like Luke, Obi-Wan, Cal Kestis. And I was like trying to decide the other two. I was like Qui-Gon or like Quinlan Voss. I like that like
not Yaddle,
renegade kind of thing. No, Yaddle didn't quite make the list. Although badass in
Tails.
She
Tails.
got it done. She got it done.
Kit Fisto was on it. Like I was really trying to narrow it down, but like I was surprised that like Cal was just so instantly on my list, like top 3, like right there. Yeah, great character. Light side or dark side? Which way do you tend to lean?
I know you typically ask this or have asked this question in the past with regards to powers.
Right. Well,
I think
people take it as powers.
Okay.
Like people go that way. I'm just asking, just light side or dark side.
Honestly, it's one of those, while I don't typically tend to gravitate towards like the Big Blue Boy Scouts oftentimes in comic books, as a fantasy, I'm always going to go light side just from a morality standpoint. And, even when I'm playing video games that have choices, like moral choices, like Mass Effect, I'm always going to choose the right option. And like, yes, I know it's a code of zeros and ones, but if they do something, it'll make me feel bad. And I don't want to feel bad. So
I get that.
I would go light side.
All right. Good stuff. Good. Someone not swayed by force lightning for once.
Well,
everyone just always mentions force lightning.
See, and I came prepared for this just in case it came up. So my big thing, and this isn't an argument for Grey Jedi in the least, I think it's a matter of application. I think there are no good or bad force powers. It's just in how you use them. You can use force lightning and spark up a generator to feed an entire village, but you can also mind control somebody, and that feels gross and invasive.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. You could mind control someone to, take a long dive off of, a cliff or something. It just, it is application. I love that. That's you're tapping into something I don't think any guest has tapped into so far. That's a good answer because everyone's
setting
like,
a bar for episode 50.
Deep tap. I like it.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so light side. What's your lightsaber of choice?
So normally it would be blue, but I've really taken. I think Cal has skewed this a little bit as well with the exclusive crystal that he had. But I really bring it back to Lobaka from the Young Jedi Knight series. Like molten ingot, like molten steel, like gold. It's not red. It's not yellow. It's just this kind of like hot orange that's got a really, really good feel to it.
So Cheeto.
Yes.
Cheetos. Hot orange.
Yes. I'm a child of the 90s. We like our neon orange.
It's Cheeto. It's Chester Cheetah the Cheeto Jedi. There you go. You got it.
I like how you described it so beautifully as like molten gold, and Charlie just broke it down to a Cheeto. Thank you, Charlie. That is my gift. That is what I do. Jesus. Favorite affiliation. This is the last question that I asked. I just started asking this fairly recently.
Mm-hmm.
This is any single affiliation in Star Wars: the Jedi, Bounty Hunters, Sith, Rebels, Ewoks, Wookiees. I don't care if you can hang with a group.
I
Who you
am
hanging with?
just waiting for somebody to say Ewoks. It's going to happen.
I'd hang with the Ewoks.
Hey,
Maybe
why
someday.
not? You bet. Murder Bears, cool.
I mean, and that kind of felt like the last episode they did for the Lego Summer Vacation, where they were hanging out on
Yeah.
Andor. It depends on the era of Jedi, I feel like, because obviously with the fall of the Republic, they were so rigid and so dogmatic, and they got roped into some stuff because they were feeling their own hype. And I'm going to keep bringing it back to High Republic. I really feel like in the High Republic, they have a sense of, how do I put this? We know that the galaxy is populated with more than just humans, but it's like humanity over duty. Like there's some room for flexibility there, where it's what I should do versus what I must do. And I think that speaks really, really well. But if we're going just generally overall, I got to go with the Rebels. They've got a lot on their hands, and they're doing it with the best that they can. They're flying old junkers and
Right.
still trying to keep up beat to the most of their credit. But we've got people like Andor and Saw who are really, really
They're in the
down,
cellar.
getting their
Yeah.
for sure. They're getting their hands dirty and are real stoic and serious about it. But they know that there's something
Right.
bigger going on.
Right. Yeah, Mark and I are big Rebels guys too. It's our jam. We love the X-Wings.
Oh yeah.
If you ever get that movie, if ever.
I do have to say I'm with you 100% on the High Republic stuff. Like if I could choose one era, one group, like that would be it. I don't want to be like the like you described, dogmatic Jedi kind of thing, but I've always leaned more towards like the Jedi, the lightsabers. That's my Star Wars, right? As much as I love X-Wings, like give me a lightsaber and some force flippies and I'm good to go. But I like what they're doing with High Republic, and it is more explore the force, how it speaks to you. And
I love that so much.
It's great. It
like,
is
they've
so
really
refreshing.
they really hammered that home in the first book that Charles Soule did for Light of the Jedi, and I ate that up. I loved the concept that the Force presented itself and meant something different to each individual person, and it started getting me thinking like, oh well, how would the Force speak to me? What would that look like? And I just really like the bright whites and the golds and just this more philosophical angle and approach that they're taking, despite being onset by the Nile and the Drengir and yada yada yada.
Right. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Let's move on to the news, because this kind of ties in a little bit to that era. So the news this week, the big news before we get into like looking back at the past 49 episodes, is the Acolyte just began filming. Like we literally got some cast updates and a set photo today as we're recording this. So Monday, November 7th. So we've got Carrie-Anne Moss added to the list, and I think Dean Charles Chapman's a new addition as well. They're joining Amandla Stenberg, Lee Jung Jae, Minnie Jacinto, Daphne Keene, Jodie Turner-Smith, Rebecca Henderson, and did I say Charlie?
No,
Barnett
no. Yeah, Charlie Barnett.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Holy crap, that's a cast.
nine member cast, and anybody can pick out Carrie-Anne Moss. If you enjoyed The Good Place, Manny, and I feel like the rest of them are kind of like, boy, I bet I saw you in a something somewhere or whatever. But I mean, are any one of the rest of these jumping out? Anybody else are like, oh man, I loved her in blank? It's just I'm drawing a blank. Blank was the right word to pick.
Daphne King.
Okay, yeah.
Daphne King was Laura. She was X-23 in Logan.
Yeah. Oh wow! Oh well, years ago. Yeah. Well, 5 years ago. Holy cow! Yeah, she's grown.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's one.
Yeah,
how about the rest of them?
Yeah. Lee Jung Jae.
Okay.
Another one. What was the? I'm trying to think of the.
He was guy in that thing. That's where I'm going with it. And I'm not disparaging that because these are all fantastic actors. They will become a
I'm trying to.
thing
I
that you
want to say the
love, and
Hunger. No,
that's where it's
Squid
at.
Games. Jesus,
Squid
why couldn't I
Game,
think of the
yeah,
name? Squid
okay,
Games.
right.
I was like, I kept like Hunger Games kept coming to my head. I'm like,
Like
it's not the
like
Hunger Games, it's Games something. Anyway,
Rebecca Henderson there looks like super familiar, but from what? Just got kind
I
of that
don't know.
face, you know what I mean? I know,
No.
but we will find out, and IMDb will help you find out because that's always where I go. So
And
yeah, that's
I am
awesome.
excited to see Manny in something other than The Good Place because I loved him
Right,
in that, but it'll be cool to see it. If he's
right,
not
yeah,
functionally
Yeah.
almost
right.
brain dead,
Right.
lovable
A
fellow.
sitcom character where this is not a Star Wars sitcom, so it's going to
Right.
be hype. But yeah, I'm jazzed. I mean, we talk ad nauseum, and certainly with our shared podcast co-husband Todd Oxtra, who is the take no prisoners Star Wars. I don't know. Hater is the wrong word, probably.
Oh, no.
But
I
always
think
looking for
it's fair.
Star Wars to push the envelope and to get out of the damn Clone Wars saga, because it feels like 60% of all of Star Wars is the Clone Wars in that era. So
Mm.
Acolyte is pushing us back. Is it 200 years, 300 years, and the High Republic time? Am I correct, or
It'll
do I
be
remember?
80 to 100 years before Phantom
Oh,
Menace.
okay,
So
okay,
Acolyte will
gotcha.
be towards the end of the High Republic. So they've
Okay,
been releasing the High Republic in phases.
okay,
And my suspicion is that this is going to kick off phase 3. So we're currently in phase
gotcha.
2,
Wow.
which, like a true Star Wars fashion, they launched phase 1, which was about 180 years before Phantom Menace, and now phase 2 with like the miniseries about the Blade of Bardata is a prequel to that. So they're doing OT, prequel, sequel.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Jared, how's your hype level for this show as a lover of High Republic?
I mean, it's set to maximum. I love the casting. I I think it's all really exciting, and because it feels so new and fresh. It doesn't feel, even from the casting decisions, like none of these were necessarily predictable. When they announced the Acolyte, all we got was the title card and a general sense of when it was going to be set era wise. And from what I've seen on Twitter and the circles that I run in my little corner of Star Wars, every single announcement has been met with positive, outstanding reception. Now, granted, whether or not they at Lucasfilm or Disney fumbles that, I don't know. But at current, it looks like it's on steady ground.
Yeah, couldn't have
Yeah,
said that better myself. Like
yeah,
I really
totally.
have been incredibly impressed with every single, like, yeah, like you said, just unpredictable casting choice
Mhm.
and like every little thing that we learn about. And we haven't learned a whole lot about this, which I also very much enjoy. And that
Absolutely.
could change as the things being filmed and things start to kind of leak out a little bit. But like so far, it is just this like some dark shit's gonna probably happen, and it's here's kind of when it's set, but like that's it. And that's a 20 year, like 80 to 100 years. That's 20. Is there going to be some time jumps in here, or is it just
All right.
they're kind of giving you like a roundabout time? You got to guess where it fits in. Like
Yeah, I think it's a rough bracket.
I'm very, very pumped for this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
Sweet.
this
Yeah.
might scratch my itch a little bit with what I've really been getting into with High Republic is I see everything that they're doing here. How did we get so divested from what we're seeing in the High Republic to the fall of the Republic in the prequel
Mm,
series? Like, what happened? And I think this is probably going to answer a lot of that kind of like burbling, beginning rumblings of dark side intercession and tampering.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think you're right. I think this is really gonna. I think it's gonna put the Jedi in a different light, and I think we
Mhm.
might end up understanding where the dark side fits in and how important the dark side is in in the balance of the universe. And I kind of hope that comes back. I've mentioned that a few times on the show, that where does Star Wars go now that Palpatine is presumably maybe defeated for the last time, hopefully kind of a little,
Right.
but where do they go? What's the big bad? And
Right.
have they messed up some balance in the universe?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need that dark to kind of counterbalance the light? And what does the universe hit back when that balance is out, or does the force hit back when that balance is out of whack? So what happens next? And I think we might get some previews of that in this, of here's so much light and the Jedi are doing kind of whatever they want and taking all these paths through the force, but here comes the darkness to kind of slap that down a little bit. And
Right.
and that's maybe where some strictness comes, and they kind of pull ranks and focus up, but they do that in the wrong way. And they, like you said, they kind of start, that's when the manipulation comes in and stuff. And it's, I'm so excited to see this. I love the grounded Star Wars and seeing the troops and the rebellion and all this kind of stuff. But like I said, my Star Wars is someone with a lightsaber doing some flippity kicks. So
Flibberty gibbets all the live long day.
yep. All right. Well, that's the only news we really had, but I also wanted to look back at like kind of a retrospective. This is at episode 50. I wanted to look back at just a few of the Holocron facts that we had. Todd did a quiz for me on episode 100 of the co-op mode. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to read a couple of things that we've done. So this show, for anyone that's joined us more recently than episode 1, which I'm guessing is most of the people. So
Right.
this started as a canon recap where Charlie came and said,
Right.
like, you're a Star Wars fan, I'm a Star Wars fan, let's do something. And I had just kind of joined on Secret Friends Unite through co-op mode, and it started on December 2nd, 2020. So we are actually coming up on an anniversary as well. And we basically just covered everything: comics, books, if there was a show going on, which I think we came on the ending of one of the seasons of Mando.
Yeah, it would have
Or
been
beginning or something of Mando.
end of season 2 of Mando, because Mando
Right.
started in 2019. Yeah.
And we covered everything, right down from like kids books to we had like a meditation guide, cookbooks, like there's everything in there.
It was everything. See, I followed this one website that was like, here's all the releases this month and blah blah. And so I was aping off of a YouTuber, Star Wars Explained, Alex something or other. You probably know the guy I'm talking about, because I'm like, I like that. Let's do it in podcast form, but we'll give it our spin. And it just got to be something we couldn't keep up with because it wasn't fun and exciting. So it went in another direction.
In that other direction, the first guest that we had was episode 5. That was Alex Terry, but joined us specifically, your old co-host, and joined us specifically to keep doing what we were doing. The first like real guest, no discredit to Alex, but the first kind of like outside of Secret Friends guest was Okairo.
Oh, yes.
And kind of that he kind of changed the show forever. So Akairo, if you're listening, we owe a great deal, probably more than you realize or care to admit, how this show started focusing on guests, started focusing on stories of people that I met through the Star Wars community on Twitter. That Jared, you said it, like you've cheated the algorithm. When I was trying to get Alan from Level Up Lightsabers to go on Twitter, I was like, dude, block button is your friend. It is toxic out there, but when you see toxic shit, hit block and move on with your life, and you will whittle it down to the most awesome Star Wars community possible. And Okairo is a big part of me getting into that and meeting more people in the community. And basically this show is kind of spun off from that. And we started getting more guests and getting their stories, and that's where we are. And like Charlie said, it was hard to keep up with other stuff. So
it was just a rich tapestry, so much interweaving of, and so many people who love the prequels, which was a head scratcher. And I'm just kidding. But no, because you got me, I'm the old guy, Mark's a bit younger than me. We had all these kids came, one who was the same age as my son in his 20s, so it was just, just all these different great perspectives. It's just wild.
So Kairo's great.
He is absolutely amazing.
Every time I see him on my timeline, I'm like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yep, absolutely amazing. we've had a lot of amazing people. Jared is our latest amazing guest, but we've had a ton. So I want to thank every single one of them right now and just take like 30 seconds to a minute to read. So we've got
And
Alex
go.
Terry. Yeah. Alex Terry. Elkairo's been on 3 times. He is our most returning guest. And we have to make that 4 sometime soon. I sent him a message today, just kind of saying this same kind of stuff before anyone else heard it. Rich Davenport, Brock McLaughlin, Dano Flores from the Dano channel on YouTube. Awesome. Like if you're into like Disney and Star Wars, like the Disney theme, like the parks and start like just go. Joseph Moran, Lightsaber Collection, holy shit. Palpamemes, another awesome Star Wars Twitter guy. Femren, Star Wars Infinite. Bella, who is also on with Jake, her boyfriend, but she's been on twice. Omar Williams, the first time Star Wars watch, I'll never forget that episode. That was insane. Like first time watching the whole thing, you watch the whole series. That was I loved that one. Abby, aka Kid Sidious, she's been on twice. Like I said, everyone from Pink Milk, Brian, we had Chase, aka That Gay Jedi, Mark, who has since left the show, but still fantastic. Mike from Bright Suns, Peanut, who I was talking to and playing some Fortnite with over the weekend. Gotta have her back. Robbie Weideman, he's been on another repeat offender. Anytime you need to talk about Maul, that's who you call. Chris from CR Sabers, Scarlett, aka Carly, Sarah Palpatine, Riley Antoinette, Todd Oxtra, the Star Wars hater. We've had him on this freaking show.
Deep.
Envy the Green Fairy,
Me,
aka
my friend Mia, the original,
Mia.
saw it in 77. Yeah.
Exactly. Steve, your friend Steve.
Oh yeah. Oh, Steve Steckety, we went to high school together. Yeah.
There you go. Yep. Alex, aka Ali Graz, another amazing Star Wars Twitter and Instagram and everything else. Katie Q, been on twice.
Katie Q, my queen. Yes, over there on Code 47. She's the greatest.
Aubrey Organa, Trevor Bettis, Jedi Master Allen, who I just mentioned from Level Up Savers, mostly Martinez, who sent a message. Let me see if I can get that message. Just amazing. Happy to have been a guest. So, and congratulations. So thanks, mostly Martinez. Peter Stein, I'm going to say he's been on for 1.5 episodes.
Right.
Because he joined us for that little short one, then went full Palpatine for the next.
Right.
And last but not least, last week we had Louis One Kenobi. And of course, that brings us up to Jared. So thank you to everyone that has made 50 episodes incredibly entertaining and yes, like one of the favorite parts of like my monthly routine or bi-weekly routine is just getting to meet new people or catching up with people we've had on multiple times. So if you haven't been on in a while and you're hearing this, reach out. We do this show bi-weekly. My list, as Jared mentioned, we've been talking for a little while. My list grows very quickly because it's, 2 guests a month. So it doesn't take long to reach into, a couple of months past. So, but I always love at least adding people that are interested on the list and making sure that I have a running list to go to. So thank you to everyone. And if you haven't been on the show at all, or if you want to return, reach out. One other thing that I want to mention is we've done episodes for every movie and any TV show, but the movies especially, we did like our whole recap, we rewatch. And I heard from Sean Capri, who runs the Carpool Gaming, who just was part of the Extra Life team that raised like $30,000 over the weekend. So holy crazy. Crap! Congratulations to Phoenix Overdrive. I'm sad I couldn't take part this year, but geez, that team's amazing. But he said he's gone back and listened to us as like a companion piece for the movies. So like either before or after you watch a movie, listen to, and I never thought of those. I just think of it like it's a weekly or bi-weekly thing. And like you listen to it when it comes out and that's it. But like he kind of looked like saved it and waited for the next time he was watching and like what, and it, thinking of our show living and kind of being an archive and companion piece broke my brain. Wow. And that was just really cool. So Sean, thank you for that. He just kind of sent it as an offhanded text and it stuck with me. So that's really cool. Yeah. And Charlie, thank you for making me do this show.
Oh,
I
well,
wasn't sure when you said let's do a Star Wars show, and I've since
I
got
mean,
a
and
Star Wars tattoo, and
transmogrify. I just got one myself. It's boring, but
yeah,
finally,
there you go.
picked that up. But you want me to tackle this next bit, talking about our beloved
Sure.
sponsor? I do a great
Yeah.
job. Well, we heard about
Let's
early in the show about Manscaped. You can support our show, Secret Friends Unite. We're brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below the waist grooming and grooming. The products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle, join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with its exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SFU at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, and Mark, I love math because you heard me do some a little bit earlier, that is about 12 million balls. Damn.
absolutely,
Oh my gosh.
absolutely.
Manscaped.com, code SFU, make it so.
That's it.
Wrong show.
I've been super impressed with Manscaped. I know we chatted a little bit about co-op mode, but we haven't chatted here. So I do want to say, like, it's as good as they say. Like, I've heard about it on other podcasts and seen the ads and that kind of stuff. And I was on the fence before this sponsorship, and like, should I, shouldn't I, whatever. It's, like, is it as good? Yes. For like, I was nervous. I mentioned this to Todd. I was very scared before I used anything downstairs. I was like, went to my wife and I was like, can you like maybe shave my back just to make sure that this doesn't like get hung up or pull at anything.
Ooh,
Like, I was scared. So for me to be
totally.
like, yeah, this works and like works well, it doesn't like, pick or cut or pull or anything. Like,
Right.
it can be bad.
I, I
I'm
and I
impressed.
and I had the same experience. Not only obviously using it myself in that area, the little light underneath the unit really makes
Mm,
things useful for corners
yeah.
and what have you. But yeah, I had my wife because the back of my neck gets fuzzy, so I had April take care of that for me using this deal. Spotless, not a
I'm
nick to be
I'm
found.
Yeah, I'm one full moon away from being confused for an Ewok or a Wookiee. So I'm not that tall. So I'm gonna say like I'm not Wookiee
Oh
height.
my god, this is
Um,
crazy.
so a short Wookiee or tall Ewok. Either way, I'm a hairy dude. So
I tell you, I
it's
think
just
Cassian
gotta.
Andor himself could use this product. You know what I'm saying? Could take care of that funky beard. But anyway, we probably should get on to talking
Speaking of
about
Andor, yeah,
talk about Andor. So, do you like my segue? Let me get on my segue. Woo!
that was a fantastic segue. So Andor, we're going to be looking at episodes 8 and 9. Let's start with basically an overview. We don't really deep dive into episodes like you can on a weekly show, but there's a ton of those, including Pink Milk, that do cover things on a weekly basis. But Charlie, you and I have been a little
Underwhelmed,
underwhelmed,
potentially.
I guess, or wondering when the show's going to pick up. For
Right.
me, I thought it was here. This is where it picked up. It's a little bit more interesting for me.
Right. There's something
Uh,
happening. It's building to something. And again,
yeah,
our poor guest hasn't spoken in like 20 minutes. So
right.
we should why don't you have a word, my friend?
Absolutely, yeah. So, Jared, what do you think?
I've been enjoying Andor. And similar to your point earlier, Mark, I too am I come to Star Wars for my space wizards. So the more grounded stuff isn't typically my immediate jump go to. But similarly to how Acolyte seems to be changing things, Andor is a drama. It's not an
Mm,
action show.
Mhm.
So getting that slow burn espionage, everything's very dramatic. We're getting real stories for real people and how it's impacting their lives. Like, yes, there are spaceships, and yes, there are fantastical alien creatures and things like that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't happen all at once. I mean, when we hear about, how fascism and things work in the real world, it's a slow boil. The frogs
Mhm.
boil slowly. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing here. It's like one long discordant note that's just being sustained for way too long.
Mhm.
And I feel like because it's a 12 episode season, each 3 episodes is its own arc, kind of like Clone Wars.
Mm.
So
mm,
instead of thinking of it as like one season waiting for it to pick up, if you break them down into those smaller arcs, you can see the rise and fall and the crests of the story peaks and valleys. So I've been enjoying it for those specific reasons, and just but that's how my brain works. I love political intrigue and things like that. So it's
But
give me
you're saying the taxation of outlying trade routes is
yes, yes, I am. Look, my degree is in political science with a minor in criminal justice and philosophy and a concentration in pre-law and some law school under my belt. Yes,
that is all Star Wars rolled into one. It's like
it
All right.
is.
it's a Star Wars course curriculum. My
I
God.
know.
Very qualified.
So very much giving me that kind of like West Wing meets Star Wars in a lot of
Mm,
ways.
Mhm.
And I've been enjoying that.
awesome. Awesome.
My God.
Were you waiting for it to pick up, and did these 2 episodes fulfill that for you, or you've just been enjoying the ride so far?
Yeah, I'm just strapped in and waiting for the operator to say get off the ride.
Mhm.
So I don't really have any expectations for it. I'm just letting it lead me. I feel like in serialized television, which we've kind of had to readjust getting back into
Mhm.
since we've done away with the binge model, it's kind of like having to recalibrate your brain. Like, okay, I'm not going to get all my answers or all my questions answered immediately. I have to wait this out.
Mhm.
And it's dense, and that's okay. I can go back and rewatch. Um, so I think the end excitement arc is what's coming. And we got a
Mhm.
little bit of that with the end of episode 9, I feel like. So I
Yeah.
think 10, 11, and 12 is going to be that finale arc.
Mhm.
And that's going to be the one that's going to have all the action like the middle arc did for the the eye and everything that it did
Right.
on the Imperial base.
I
So
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really stop to think about. I mean, obviously, when this and Mark and I, you and I talked about this a lot when it dropped. Like I said, well, if they didn't drop those first 3 episodes at the same time, they would have lost anyone after that first episode. The way it was so glacial,
Mhm.
but I didn't, like Jared was saying, really stop to think about it. To your point, that it's the arc with the beginning, middle, and end, and then it's a wave and it's cresting again. And so it's just that's potentially a little bit more non-traditional way for people to really look at this kind of thing. So maybe that's without that perspective, maybe that's what I was missing. And
Mhm.
I'm sure, like most anyone, when it's said and done, we'll go back and watch it again, or we could go back and watch it again. And thinking about it in that perspective, probably get a lot more out of it. Thinking that, not thinking about like, oh, bloom, what's happening now? Oh God, I got to wait a week for this next thing to happen. So, yeah.
Mhm. Where for me, these 2 episodes where I have been so far, like I kind of wish they dropped it either in chunks, which with 3 episode chunks would actually really work really well, I
Hmm.
think. But I up until this point have kind of been like, okay, I watch it because of this show that we're doing right now, and I keep up. Otherwise, I would kind of like to binge this whole thing through and just
Right.
see where it starts. And I think, Jared, to your point, is that's kind of how our brains have been trained, and I have to get out
Right.
of that, and that's a
Right.
me thing. But these 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm now anticipating next week or
Right.
anticipating this week or whatever. Um, it's hooked me now that I
Right.
want to come back. Not just we could end Holocron Chronicles at episode 50, call it a day, and I'd still be like, we're not
Right.
going to, but I'd still be watching Andor when it came out
Right.
rather than waiting for it and binging it all. So it's got
Right.
its hooks in me with these two. So this is a lot dealing with Andor in prison. We're going full spoilers for anyone not familiar with the show.
Mhm.
That's where we're going right now. Andor in prison, we've got the ISB kind of going after Bix and the crew there. Any character moments stand out for you guys? Jared, we'll start with you in either of these 2 episodes.
uh, Mon Mothma is really what I've been coming to the series for in a lot
Mhm.
of ways. So her just continuing to try and move things along and try to remain as surreptitious as possible. She's in very, very dangerous territory. Um, but her danger is different from everybody else's. And I think all of her shots are incredible. Like Genevieve is holding that role. I would be so disappointed if she doesn't get nominated for an Emmy for her performance, because her party scenes, it's supposed to be laissez-faire and just very yada yada yada. But I am finding myself like holding my breath during her scenes every single
Yep.
time. And then I think it was episode 9, it was just after Vel left the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And she's standing there framed out in the archway, and all you see is her back, and she eventually just hangs her head. I was like, ugh. That compounded with, all of her Senate hearings where people are either shouting her down, not listening to her, blah, blah,
Booing
blah, blah,
and
blah.
taking turning the lights off and leaving, like
Yeah.
it's like people
Yeah.
walking out of a theater, like if you're doing Macbeth, which is quite a stage play for what she's doing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So that's been a lot of what I've been drawn to.
Yeah, I love not only, I mean, her scenes are amazing, but I love that they will linger on a shot in this. A lot of Star Wars, a lot of TV in general, is move on to the next scene, move on to the next thing, action piece, move on, action piece, move on. This lets the camera linger. It lets it sit on silence. It lets you take that beat to hang your head, or to realize what's going on, or to let a line sink in that you might not have to rewatch it. You might not catch, they allow for that space that you can catch it on the first watch and let it sit. And it's incredibly powerful. And I've really appreciated it in these 2 episodes specifically, but I've noticed it, and like thinking back, I've noticed it in a few times in this show. But yeah, it's incredibly powerful, and you do not see that too much in Star Wars or like I said, anything else. And I really, really appreciate them doing that.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is, not necessarily contradictory or counterintuitive to George's DNA in Star Wars, because he's such a speed junkie.
Right.
But I think that's, again, why the show is so massively important, not only for the story that it's telling and how it may relate to real life today, because all our fiction is allegory. But taking the time to set itself as different by saying, we need to take our foot off the gas here, because otherwise people are going to miss it. And this is something that they cannot miss.
Yeah, exactly. It's important stuff that, yeah, we're, like you said, we're seeing a lot of the real world reflected. So it's yeah, very important. Charlie, what about you? Any other moments that stick out?
We're building to a crescendo here, is something that's obviously going to happen as we're getting into, as we've said, that final arc. Luthen connecting with Saw Gerrera, which is one of those like, oh, they put it in the trailer and there's the guy from that thing. I mean, Forrest Whitaker is Forrest Whitaker. It's interesting to see Saw. So this is 5 or 6 years before Rogue One. So he's got more human parts than he did when we met him. He's not hobbling around on his foot is a rake and his other leg is a shovel. And I mean, it's looking so beat up. But the verbal sparring that you see between him and Luthen, very much like the way that Cassian delivers his very clipped, to the fact, never betray what's really on his mind kind of thinking. It sets up really the culture of everything that culminates in what is, I think, ultimately going to be Cassian's career in the Rebel Alliance and in Rebel Intelligence, being set here. And loved seeing that 2 of the guys in Cassian's work crew were Melshi and the other dude who we see on the beach at Scarif. So they are his regular rebels, who, of course, they die. Sorry, spoiler for a 5-year-old movie, 6-year-old movie, that everybody dies. But yeah, you can see, it's the genesis of kind of how all of that came to pass, and how they're so completely shaped by the horrible yet incredibly sanitary conditions of an Imperial prison. The floor is lava, a jail cell scenario they got going on. It's some really scary shit. And really underscored by, the death of the old man at the end of episode 9. and they're like, well, okay, clunk, and they just walk away. It's just, let's just roll them out. Let's roll them out of here. Reminds me of the, in the Treehouse of Horror with the Simpsons. They're rolling. I think that it was their spoof on The Nightmare on Elm Street, and Martin had died, so they had him covered, and they're rolling him out, and the sheet snags, and they said, no, don't roll him into the kindergarten. It's just dumping him, you put him in the grist mill to make horse meat or whatever it is. They just do not care. There is no human capital in the empire. It's all what goes into the bone grinder. And so it really shows the depths of evil. This was even something Todd was saying to me, like, I hope Andor is, and he's famously said, well, I'm giving up on the show. I don't care. It's too slow. But something he remarked when he was talking to John and myself today was, well, I hope that Andor is showing us maybe some different gray corners of the Empire, or some different kind of end game or something. And maybe we haven't gotten that far yet, but we definitely are seeing some depth of, what the Empire is all about. Humans are basically livestock. Any environment is expendable. Sorry to say it, but welcome to Trump Star Wars. That's kind of what we got going on here. It's just whatever we can grind up. So it's shattering.
Yeah. I read something that I don't think really works or makes sense, but was definitely a darker kind of thing, was a theory that the floors, so you see them putting together something. It's kind of nondescript what they're putting together. It's just they're clunking out these star-shaped things.
Right.
The theory that I read was the floor below them just dismantles it, and it's basically just an endless cycle of uselessness just to beat these people down and make sure they have no spirit left.
But to what end? Or that's what we're going to find out.
Breaking people, just breaking people.
Because
kill their spirit, they're not going to rebel.
Right.
That was the theory. Again, I don't think it
them, right?
really fits, but
they're not just building widgets for AT-AT walkers or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the theory because it does show the depravity with which the Empire would go.
Right.
But I think it's very utilitarian. It's in its nature of executing authoritarianism. So it wouldn't be efficient.
Right.
My running theory, and I'm happy to be wrong, and I probably will be, is that they're actually in the Death Star. That because it's this water moon and you see all the water cascading, that's cooling it.
Okay.
And that they're actually in it, building it, and it's going to come right on out of that water moon.
How interesting. Wow.
In either the end of this season or next.
Right.
I don't know why I think that. It just feels weird. Like, why would you spend all this time and energy to have all these people, house all these people, build these things, only to then have to move it to somewhere else?
Right.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'd like to see it come to fruition.
I like that. Adds a bit of depth. We kind of already talked about some scenes and shots and character moments. Anything else stand out for either of you guys?
I mean, I think, like I said, the old man's death at the end, and the what about the now I'm going to draw a blank on the name. We've got is it Miro, who's the ISB officer, and the creepy fanboy. That interaction, it was just like the kind of
Daedra and Cyril.
Yeah, the kind of single white female deal. Like, well, I've, basically, I'm your biggest fan. Kind of a, Stan from Eminem. What's the end game with him? What's that guy gonna do? Whatever he's gonna do, it's not going to be great.
No, it's going to be horrific. Because he's so looking to be a part of something,
right?
Like, and a lot of that just stems from his home life and the way that his mother dominates him. That he's looking for somebody else to kind of supplant that,
Right.
but someone that could potentially give him something in return, and he's not getting it. And I think he's going to find himself on the wrong end of something, and probably wind up being either on the same floor or be going in as Andor is coming out on the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm.
be.
I can't wait. Yeah, so you're right. It's ramping up to a level of anticipation that
I
haven't quite been at yet.
I do have to say, Bix's torture scene was absolutely brutal to watch. Holy shit! And the silence again,
Right.
letting something go by with absolute silence and just letting the actor
Mm-hmm.
do her thing
So
was
Right.
so good, so
Heavy.
good. Um, so what we're gearing up to the last few episodes. How are you feeling so far? I think we've covered a bit of that. So what do you think is next? Where do you think, where's the next wave going, Jared?
I mean, I think, however this arc ends, this is going to be um, Andor's kind of call to action.
Mm-hmm.
I know that by and large, he's kind of broken the mold on Campbell's hero's journey, because he's constantly rejecting his place and he's never feeling comfortable. And more or less, he's in the presence of other protagonists, but hasn't taken that leap yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to be the start of that. Episode 1 wasn't it. Um, so, especially having thought that he was free and clear after doing the Aldani job, wound up in the place that he didn't want to be at the beginning, and kind of had the same amorphous idea of the Empire, but really understands the insidiousness of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Finally being willing to take the charge and say, I'm in.
Yep.
Forget the money. I'm in.
Right.
Yep.
So that's where I think and suspect that it's probably going to wind up going.
Absolutely.
Rock on.
Charlie, you're kind of on the same page there.
I mean, like I said, all the threads are going to combine with Luthen and Saw and Mon Cassian getting out, and for him saying, you know what, I'm polarized because the world is shit, and my trying to hustle my way through the mire is just going to get me back in a place like this or something worse or something dead. So I've got you got to, what is it Stephen Colbert says, you have to stand up for standing. Then that's what he's going to have to do. So, and I think that's what we're going to see, and that's what's going to lead us obviously through the end of the season and then into a time jump that's going to leave him obviously more established, and then potentially engaging in the next big thing. I love the idea, Jared, that they're building the Death Star on some submerged moon. That's holy shit. That's awesome. I want it.
No.
Give it to me.
Yeah, I unless something different happens, I think my last theory was wrong about him being part of the Ezra's parents breaking, because I haven't seen like a couple
Right.
in the unless it's like they're on a different floor and a few, like, because they are still communicating or whatever, right? Like
right. That's who
through
he's
the
talking
hand
to
signals and stuff.
through the
Right.
cross. Yeah, right.
That's interesting. I hadn't actually realized it now that it is basically monogendered in the prison.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Or
Yeah,
at
you're
least
right.
on that floor.
You haven't seen any females. Well, that's wild.
No.
Wow.
No. So I think that theory so far there's some holes in that
Sure.
one. But I'm loving this Death Star thing. If I have to jump on a different fan theory than my Ezra parents, let's go. I'm in.
That'll be the one.
So
So we
we'll
want to
see.
pick it. Wow.
You've got some
Crazy.
people rooting for you, Jared.
All right.
This was great. Thank you. We're kind of out of time now, so I'm excited to see where the next few episodes go. Jared, thank you so much for joining us.
Mark,
This was
Charlie,
an
thank you
absolute
for
pleasure.
having me. This
Oh my
was
God, you got it, dude.
an absolute joy. Congratulations on 50. And I will take your advice, and everybody else should too, about reaching out for, whenever I'm free next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Let
you
me know.
bet.
Keep in touch. And please tell people where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, sure. I am on both Twitter and Twitch at GreekHeat. So they are both the same. You will generally find me. I'm other places too, but I hardly use them. So Twitter and Twitch.
Excellent. Excellent. And Charlie, you want to tell people where they can find you?
I'm in a recent conversion myself, moving away from a certain media called Mbunk. But over on Twitter, you can find me at the C3, trying to be more active over there, spread my presence, and also at our Secret Friends Unite Discord, trying to get better at doing that and interacting with folks. And I actually am the regional coordinator for the Starfleet International Fan Club in Michigan and Eastern Canada. So Mark, your ass belongs to me. Sorry. But my wife and I run the USS Grand Petoskey, which is one of the largest chapters of SFI in the world. It's based here in Michigan. You can find us at a website of that name and across socials all over the place. And by the time you're listening to this, if you're in Michigan, we have a huge presence at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con this upcoming weekend, November 11th through 13th. We're going to have a beautiful booth space, props, costumes, chance to join our club. We're also having our first annual meeting, which is going to be recognition and a chance for a silent auction to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Michigan. So it's going to be amazing. If you're listening to this when the show comes out, there's still time to come down. It's a very affordable show. DeVos Place, Grand Rapids, Michigan, would love to see you. So, Mark, what about you?
I like how you snuck in the charity thing there, because that was a good 2-minute ramble about Star Trek on my Star Wars show, and that doesn't usually happen without some charity tie-in. So good on you, sir.
Very charitable. Very charitable.
There you go. I was throwing in those sick kids that I can't help but root for. So you can find me not watching Star Trek on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere else at @the_Canardian, and of course in the Secret Friends Unite Discord.
Very good. All right. That's awesome. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trekking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out. Oh, you wrapped it right up there. Okay, cool. This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.